everybody, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about Title Update 2. Mostly, why it's so important and why it is much better than you think it is. Due to the way YouTube has changed their algorithm, I now have to ask you to like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, so please do that so people can know that we exist. Thank you. With Title Update 2, we were brought 2 new monsters, returning monsters with Lagiacrus and Seregios, as well as quality of life changes, further upgrades to talismans, performance updates, and that kind of stuff. But that's not what makes this update such an important one that made Wilds truly feel like Monster Hunter again to me. Now, I am not a Wilds hater by any means, and I want to get that very clear. I did not hate Wilds. I don't think that it's a bad game, but it did have issues. The game was easier than I expected throughout the story, but with the introduction of some more 8.5 monsters and the new monsters, I am no longer concerned about difficulty at all. But my biggest issue with Wilds was the removal of a lot of friction that is the very soul of Monster Hunter. And that is what I have felt has returned, or at least starting to return, with Title Update 2. So what do I consider the soul of Monster Hunter? For me, there's a couple of things. One is that you are essentially role-playing being a monster hunter. And what does that entail? It doesn't entail just going out there and beating up a monster. That's not what an RPG of a monster hunter is. It's tracking the monster. It's prepping to go out on a fight with a monster. It's being victorious against all odds because you're fighting these really scary things that no one else can really deal with. You're having to learn the environment so that you can use it to your advantage. And all of these things were not really present in base Wilds. Another part of it is just the loop of Monster Hunter. A big part of the game is obviously hunting monsters, getting their materials to make weapons, to make armor, to then go hunt more monsters and make more weapons and make more armor. And if that is your loop of your game, and it becomes not only easy as in the fights are easy, but you get everything given to you so easily, you just fundamentally break that loop. Instead of me having to fight a monster for 5 times to get a ruby or a plate to drop so that I could make the weapon, and then another plate or a ruby for the pants and another one probably for the chest piece, I could hunt a monster maybe twice and be done with everything. Couple that with the fights taking significantly less time, and you're probably done with making your entire armor set and your weapon in what? 10 minutes? 20 minutes max? Whereas this is a loop that used to take a long time. It did. It used to take a while. There's a reason why there's the whole meme about the desire sensor. If you let the game know what you want, you're not gonna get it, because we have all experienced hunting monsters, repeating quests over and over again to get the thing that we want. Now, as much as people will make arguments about a game respecting their time or RNG being bad, etc., speaking personally here, not what's best for maybe the overall industry of video games, but personally, I like having RNG in the game. I like having to hunt a monster over and over again to get the thing that I want, because if I just get it, then there's nothing really left for me to achieve. If I have everything, then what am I working towards? And I could do a whole video about how I think we ended up with the way base Wilds is, but this video is specifically about how Title Update 2 is awesome and why it's changing a lot of this. So let's try and stay on track, which is difficult for me. But base Wilds did break a lot of this, right? We just talked about the loop that it broke, but it also had no tracking. We had way too much power as a hunter. And then because we were so powerful, we didn't need to prep for hunts because you barely had to heal. You didn't have to worry about poison or anything like that because you didn't, hunts were not difficult enough for you to worry about it. Didn't need to worry about capturing versus not capturing, and due to having no prep, you didn't need to farm. You didn't need to learn the environment because you just didn't need to use any of these things. I think a game truly shines, especially a game like Monster Hunter, when it kind of forces you to learn about all of the systems, to use all of the systems to your own advantage, to learn about all of the different items you can bring to buff your defense, to buff your attack, to learn about the different meals that you eat that give you different stats, to learn where to drop boulders on enemies or how luring pods work, to use armor spheres or just make better armor in general. Yes, you can always choose to buy into these systems, but until a game truly pushes you to learn and make use of these systems, it just feels like something is missing. And then here comes Title Update 2. I love Title Update 2. And I made sure to let everyone know, like, I feel like the soul of Monster Hunter is returning to Wilds. Again, I do not think Wilds is a bad game, but it broke a lot of the friction and the pushback that we really need to make this a game that we put thousands of hours into instead of just a couple of hundred. Now, if you haven't played, you're probably wondering, why does it make such a big difference? They literally just brought in 2 monsters. Let me explain it to you. First of all, these 2 monsters, Lagiacrus and Seregios, are pretty hard. They're not easy. You have to pay attention. And we have the 8-5 versions, and just in case you don't know what I mean by that, 8 stars of the orange stars and 5 strength. We have the 8-5s. We have the tempered 8-5s. And the tempered 8-5s of both of these monsters are not easy. You have to pay attention. They have a couple of things that will one-shot you, but mostly they're just really aggressive. And learning those openings that you can take advantage of is gonna take you a while. So Lagi and Seregios came into the game and right away just let you know that we are not easy. So right there, we're fixing one of the problems. I now am using more healing potions and more max potions and stuff like that. So I have to go and farm for these things. I'm now having to do farming routes to go get more honey, or I'm going to have to go and hunt some guardian monsters so I can get nourishing extract. I'm having to think about these things now, whereas I didn't have to before. I'm having to check my build. Maybe I want to make it a little bit comfier. Maybe I want to run the Raidal comfy bow build that gives me guts, because the possibility of me dying is maybe kind of high. I have to think about my mantles. Maybe I don't want to bring an offensive-based mantle now. Maybe I want to bring one that heals me because I'm going to be getting hit more. So already the prep is way more present than it was before because they're harder, you're using more items, therefore you need more items, therefore you're farming for more items. But the biggest thing that has made a difference and made me feel like I am truly playing Monster Hunter again, let me show you. I'm going to show you something in the monster field guide for Seregios and for Lagiacrus. If you head over to the drop rate of the materials from these monsters, they are quite different to other monsters. As you will see all the way at the bottom, the Dissenter has a 1% drop rate as a target reward and a 2% drop rate for carving. Lagi is the exact same way. You go all the way down to the bottom, 1% for target rewards and 2% for carving. Now, if we look at the other monsters, we'll take a look at Arkveld. His gem is a 3% target reward, 5% carving, 7% tail. Let's look at Mizu, because Mizu is another recent monster. You have 3% for target reward, 3% carving, 6% from the tail. Uthduna, you have a similar story. 5% target reward, 12% from the tail, and 7% from carving. So this is telling us a pretty clear story. It is way harder to get the new highest rarity material from Seregios and Lagiacrus than any other monster in the game. And this is the thing that has made me cry with joy. I haven't cried, but I'm very joyful. I spent, I think, 4 hours farming Seregios to get a Dissenter to make the weapon. And I was so happy for it. Now, you can still get the investigations to show up that give you a guaranteed gem, Dissenter, whatever. I didn't get any of those, though. And I think that is a separate conversation that we need to talk about. And I do think that needs to be tweaked. And I have some ideas of how I would tweak that. But again, trying not to get too distracted here. So it took me a total of, I think, 2 days. And 2 days, I'm talking about like probably 16 hours to get the full Lagi armor, full Seregios armor, and both weapons. Now, imagine if that was the case for every single monster in the game, or at least the end game monsters, right? When we're in high rank and we're making these higher level things. That would have been such a different story for all of our adventure, our journey with Monster Hunter Wilds. And because of this, I got to really learn these monsters. I'm dancing with Steve and it feels great. I know his moves. I know how to combat him. I can now go in there with more damaging builds and not have any comfiness on it because I've learned the fight. And I realized there's some fights in this game that I just do not know very well because I've never needed to know them well. They didn't challenge me, and I didn't have to keep fighting them because I got everything so easily. But not only that, it also makes me look at my Hunter's Guidebook more. I know you can look at this online, but I really don't like to use websites to look up drop rates and stuff like that because I love the role play of Monster Hunter, being engrossed in this world and being a monster hunter. So I like whipping out my book and looking through the pages and looking at drop rate percentages. And there will be monsters in the future where if you break their head or you break their back and you carve their tail, you have more chances of getting stuff. It just so happens that with these two monsters, you have a target reward and then just a carve. So you don't have any extras. But there will be those things in the future. And now I have a reason to look at my book. Do I want to capture? Do I want to carve? Do I want to focus the tail? If I do want to focus the tail, do I want to switch to sword and shield or something at some point so I can get the tail? These are things that I now have to think about, whereas none of this was present before. So not only are Seregios and Lagiacrus some incredible fights, they're so good. They're so fun. I think Seregios is probably my favorite fight in the game now. It's probably my favorite hunt to fight monster. But their weapons are really cool. I love them so much and their armor is really good. But they also have brought back that feeling of Monster Hunter that wasn't quite there in WoWs. I think WoWs is a fantastic foundation of a game. It's beautiful. The world is awesome. The music is incredible. I love all of the characters. I love having my pop-up camps. I love the monsters themselves. The roster is freaking great. The weapons feel awesome. There's so much good about Monster Hunter Wilds, but the streamlining was just too much. And this is a game that really needs to push back on you a little bit. I want to say, hello, video game. I would like to make the Lagiacrus bow, please. And the video game goes, hold on, you're going to have to prove that you're worth it first. It's not just going to go, sure, take whatever you want. What decoration do you need? Take it. Armor, weapon, who cares? Take it all. Needs to push back a little bit. And Title Update 2 is doing that. So I am so excited for Title Update 3. Not only are we going to be getting new monsters that I'm sure they're going to maintain this thing of it being harder to get the rare materials. I'm sure they're also going to have extremely difficult versions. The 8.5 tempered versions are probably going to beat us up, but also they're adding a new end game grind with the talismans. So I'm so excited for Title Update 3. If you have not played Title Update 2 yet, I do really recommend you go out there and try and work towards making the Lagi and Seregio set. Learn them, fight the hardest versions of them. They're so fun, and I guarantee you'll start to feel like, this is the Monster Hunter I fell in love with. Thank you guys so much for watching. We have a couple of more build videos coming. We have one specifically for hunting Uthduna because AT Uthduna is coming a week early. It's actually going to be next week. And then I also do have a comfy bow build video because things are starting to kick our asses now. And we want our asses to be kicked a little bit less. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.